Hi, I'm Jack Koenig with Graco, and these are the G3 Max Gen 2 automatic lubrication pumps. In this video, I'm covering alarm code A11, low cycle count. Cycle count is the input labeled C on the side of the G3 Max, and it is designed to monitor a metering system called a series progressive divider valve. These valves can take several forms, but the ones connected to a G3 usually look something like this MSP valve or this CSP valve. The cycle count input is connected to a cycle switch that opens and closes as oil or grease moves through the divider valve. As the fluid moves through the valve, pistons move back and forth to proportion the flow to different lubrication points. The movement of these pistons is what we detect with the switch. There are multiple possible causes of a cycle count alarm, and this video will attempt to cover the most common ones as briefly as possible. If this lubrication system is outdoors or some other place that experiences temperature changes, the first thing to ask yourself is, could a colder temperature be making the grease or oil more difficult to pump? If the answer is yes, you might simply need to reprogram the pump by setting a longer timeout time. Instructions for programming the pump are available in the video titled Lubrication Ends on Cycle Count Input. If the program allows it, try doubling the timeout setting. After the G3 is reprogrammed and you have exited the menu, press the right arrow button to initiate a manual run. If the cycle count completes successfully before the end of the new timeout setting, then you have fixed the problem. If temperature changes are not the culprit, then the first step in troubleshooting this alarm is to trace the cable from the C input to the cycle switch. Make sure it is connected at both ends and that the cable has not been cut or damaged. Sometimes the valve is mounted next to the pump, but often the valve is mounted some distance away. If this is a new installation, double-check your wiring diagrams and verify that the cable has been wired to the connectors correctly. At the pump outlet, take a look at the PRV, or pressure relief valve, installed there, and see if it is venting grease or oil. If you see a puddle below the relief valve, it means a blockage has formed somewhere in the system downstream from the pump. If you are using a return to reservoir PRV, you might be able to disconnect the return line to see if grease is venting from it. If a pressure gauge is installed, you can also observe it building pressure. This confirms that the pump is working and that the problem is somewhere downstream of it. For this situation, please visit our website, Graco.com, and search for 312497. This number is the manual number for the Trabon valves, including the MSP. The manual includes instructions for locating a blockage in the system. If your system has a pressure gauge mounted at the pump outlet, verify that pressure builds when the pump is running. To initiate a manual run on the G3 Max pump, first clear the alarm. Press and hold the left arrow for a few seconds, then press the right arrow momentarily. On a grease pump, you can see the wiper arm turning whenever the motor is running. The same motor that turns the wiper arm also strokes the pump element. An oil system doesn't have a wiper arm, so it can be more difficult to confirm the movement, but if you look inside the reservoir, there is a round nut at the bottom with two flat sides. You might be able to see this nut moving as long as your oil is not too dark. If pressure is not building while the pump is running, then it may be time to replace the pump element. The part number for a G3 pump element is 571041. Replacement pump elements are available from your Graco distributor. The pump element is a piston and cylinder assembly which threads out of the base. You need a 1 1/8 inch wrench to remove it. Before I go, let's look at some different types of cycle switches. Cycle switches can take several forms. These are some common ones. An older style is this limit switch, which requires a cycle indicator pin to actuate it. The pin is mechanically connected to the piston inside the valve. We have two styles of proximity switches that are commonly used. This relatively large hexagonal piece is a field-sensitive magnetic, or FSM, proximity switch, which magnetically detects the pistons directly without requiring a cycle pin. It threads into a port at the end of the valve. I sometimes call these the Trabon proximity switches because they were designed many years ago by the Trabon company, which is now a part of Graco. This smaller model is our go-to proximity switch for new designs. We call it the solid-state proximity switch because it is transistor-based. Because it has no moving parts inside of it, the solid-state switch is the most rugged version available. These are ideal for large stamping presses, but they are used for any application because they are so rugged. They also work by magnetically detecting the piston and therefore don't require a cycle indicator pin. I hope this video has been informative and helpful. Please contact us with any questions, and thank you for choosing Graco.